The salt spray stung Rose's face as she gripped the helm of the Wandering Heart. The little sloop bucked and groaned under the relentless assault of the waves, a familiar dance she'd performed countless times. Today, though, the familiar rhythm felt frantic, driven by a knot of anxiety that tightened with every creak of the mast. She wasn't worried about the storm brewing on the horizon. She'd weathered harsher. Her worry was for her partner, George. He was below deck, poring over a tattered map, his brow furrowed in concentration. They were close, so close to finally finding the wild rose, the legendary treasure lost for decades.
"Rose, I think I've got it."
George's voice boomed as he scrambled onto the deck, his face beaming. He practically vibrated with excitement.
Old Man Hemlock's journal mentions a rock formation shaped like a weeping willow, where sorrow whispers secrets to the sea. I cross-referenced it with the cartographer's notes, and I'm almost certain it's on Cannon Cove.
Rose's heart leapt. Cannon Cove! A dangerous place, infested with skeletons and rumours of a haunted fortress. But the wild rose, the galleons she could command with the gold, the freedom she'd dreamed of.
"All right, George,"
she said, her voice steadier than she felt.
"Let's set course for Cannon Cove. But keep your cutlass sharp, sweetheart. We might be meeting some unwelcome guests."
The journey to Cannon Cove was fraught. The storm intensified, and the sloop was tossed around like a toy in a bathtub. They fought off a hungry kraken with a barrage of cannon fire and some desperate swordplay. But through it all, their spirits remained high, fueled by the promise of the wild rose. Finally, they reached Cannon Cove, battered but afloat. The Weeping Willow rock formation was exactly as Hemlock described, its jagged edges resembling drooping branches. George, ever the bookworm, immediately set about deciphering the rest of the clues in the journal.
"The rose lies where the shadow of the willow touches the sand at high tide,"
he read aloud, his voice barely audible above the wind. They waited, the hours stretching into an eternity. The tide crept higher, the shadow of the willow slowly extending across the sand. Finally, as the last sliver of sunlight kissed the horizon, the shadow reached a patch of exposed rock. George and Rose exchanged a look, a mixture of hope and trepidation dancing in their eyes. They grabbed their shovels and began to dig. The sand was loose and yielded easily. After only a few minutes, the shovel struck something hard. A chest. Their breath caught in their throats. This was it. The wild rose. With trembling hands, Rose pried open the lid. Inside lay not gold nor jewels, but a single, perfectly preserved wild rose encased in glass. Underneath it, a scroll. Rose unfurled the scroll, her heart pounding. It was Hemlock's final entry, written in a shaky hand. The wild rose isn't gold, friends. It's something far more precious. It's the memory of a love lost, a reminder that even amidst the harshness of the sea, beauty and devotion can still bloom. Perhaps one day someone will understand its true value. Disappointment washed over Rose.
All this effort, all this risk for a flower?
George, however, was staring at the rose with a quiet reverence.
"It's beautiful, Rose,"
he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. He gently touched the glass. He was right. It is precious. Rose looked at George, his eyes shining in the fading light. She saw the weariness in his face, the scars he'd earned fighting beside her, the unwavering loyalty that burned within him. And suddenly she understood. The treasure wasn't the gold she'd craved. It was the bond she shared with George. The years they'd spent sailing together, facing dangers together, their love blooming amidst the chaos of the sea. That was the true wild rose. She reached out and took George's hand.
"You're right,"
she said, her voice filled with newfound conviction.
It is beautiful.
They placed the chest back in the ground, burying the wild rose once more, a secret whispered only to the sea. They left Cannon Cove with empty pockets, but with hearts overflowing. They had found their treasure, not in gold, but in each other. As the wandering heart sailed into the dawn, Rose looked at George, a genuine smile gracing her lips. The storm had passed, leaving behind a sky painted with the hues of a new day. And she knew, with unwavering certainty, that their adventure had just begun. The wild rose had led them to a treasure far greater than they could have ever imagined. Their love, like the legendary flower, would bloom forever on the Sea of Thieves.